Hello, I'm Jeremy Rivera, your Unscripted SEO Podcast host. I'm here with Stephan of Vibe Logic. He's going to introduce himself and tell us why we should trust him as an SEO expert.
Oh, that's a big promise. Okay, well, I'll start with it depends. Uh, Actually, I thought about starting a podcast called It Depends because that would be kind of
Classic.
awesome. But I'm Stephan Bajaio. I am the CEO and co-founder of a small agency called Vibe Logic. My background stems about, well, let's see. I helped put some of the first e-commerce sites on the internet during the dot-com boom bust. We'll talk about that because I'm getting a feeling that we're in that same bubble right
Oh,
now. So a lot of deja
bubble.
vu there. I would later go into publishing and from there find my way into the link slinging business of SEO at the beginning. A little company called Link Experts that would later turn into a larger company I'd helped become one of the original co-founders of called Conductor. Some of you may know it, very large enterprise SEO platform. I helped build that business out for about 14 years. After we were bought by WeWork, we bought ourselves back from WeWork. There's a whole lot of stuff that went on there. And then I decided I want to see how the other half lived. So I did the stint as a CMO because I'd been telling the CMOs how to do stuff for a while at the big companies. And now it was time to like actually do it. So
Yeah.
that was another version of me. And then finally started Vibe Logic, this passion project that's become an agency that is growing steadily. And I'm excited about what's to come with AI and where we're at and all that good stuff. So if you trust me at your own risk, how's that?
It sounds good. Talking about deja vu all over again, there are multiple things where I keep because I started in 2007. Um, and so what is old is new, and what is new is old. Um, and it's I think, what is it? We're on the seventh iteration of SEO is dead at this
Oh,
point.
seventh. I think we're on the 17th, to be honest. Like it's I actually I did an article for Halloween about it, where I just kept showing the zombies of all the different times people have cited SEO dying because it's just it's a joke. Like it's a joke and it's also just very telling and sad that we keep having this over and over. But in all fairness, if you're an SEO out there, and how clean are we supposed to keep this?
You can. I don't care.
Okay. Well, it's your fucking fault, guys. It's my fault too. Okay. I've been doing this for 2 decades, and part of my job at one point was to be the chief evangelist at Conductor. And believe it or not, that wasn't just evangelizing Conductor, that was evangelizing search. And the
Yeah.
reality is that we've done a piss poor job of defining ourselves within organizations. We've let others define us for us. We've let others, hell, we still are in an argument right now about what we are, AEO, GEO, AIO. Like, that's our fault. That's no one
Yes.
else's fault. We're letting the others narrate what we
Yeah.
do, and it's ridiculous. And SEOs as an industry, who I love and have grown up with and feel like are honestly some of the smartest people in the room at the companies they're at, are acting like idiots when it comes to our actual industry because like we need to claim what it is, not let others tell us what it is. So
Stepping on your soapbox.
but the
Tell me.
soapbox is
Tell
tall and we haven't even climbed to the first rung. Trust me,
tell me
I'm not.
what. Tell me what it is then. What would you say as an SEO you do
I
here?
mean, it's simple. It's Stefan's employment opportunities, right? SEO. No, no. It's all kidding aside, the optimization part is what we do. Okay? We take data, take content, and we look at opportunities to make whatever ingests that content and judge that content understand it better. That's what we do at the core nexus of what we do. Now, we can complicate it with algorithms, we can complicate it with LLMs, we can complicate it as with voice search and different kinds of mediums. We can add universal search on top of it. We can look at it through the context of I can't understand anything through GA4 now because universal used to be so easy, and all of the stuff, right? All the things
Yes.
that killed SEO and didn't let us do any of this stuff. We've been through all of that. And if you haven't been through it, by the way, kids, get ready. It's part of what being an SEO is. Optimization is, we have to optimize ourselves, unfortunately. Like, we're the keepers of this great data that lives within these organizations, whether you're doing it as a third-party consultant to help others as an agency or you're in-house. Your job is to look at the wisdom of this organization, the audience that needs that wisdom, and finding ways to connect those two. Search engine is just the medium by which it's done.
On the nosy. Absolutely.
I've been doing this
I'm
a
gonna
really long time. Like I have a lot of pain in me, and it comes from the lonely island that is every SEO feeling like they're on their own one palm tree with two coconut little islands, that when they see another SEO, they go, "We're saved." But in reality, they're still on a little island by themselves. And that doesn't get any better, by the way, when you go to big enterprise companies. The number of SEOs that exist there are myopic compared to what they're actually trying to accomplish. So the game's been rigged from the beginning in regards to the value prop of what this was supposed to be doing. The
yes.
worst thing that ever happened was that the channel held this amazing data set that was trapped and treated as a channel instead of as an information set that we should be using as marketers, which is where I kind of have been preaching and pounding my fists against the table for years, even before LLMs came into the picture, and have been saying, like, hey, we know more about what a user's going to see, what ranks, supply, and how they're going to look for it, demand. We know that stuff. We're aware of it. We have the data. We have an internal search to look at it. We have external search signals. We can look at what the SERPs look like. We have all this data. Unfortunately, we've been treating it like a hammer with a nail, and our response is, I need to rank for that. I need to rank for that. I need to rank for that. And that has put us in a position where if you don't rank for that, you failed. But that's not true.
Right.
That's not the way the LLM
Yes.
interprets stuff. That's not the way search engines even interpret stuff anymore. They look at whether you're being cited and referenced and so forth. And the problem is the SEO is the most lowly position in a company, unfortunately, because they usually don't create the content and they don't do the dev. So if either one of those people charged with those things aren't on board, let alone the executive that sets the brand messaging or whatever direction you're going in, if those people aren't on board with your message or your direction, you're screwed. Doesn't matter how smart you are. You could be God's gift to SEO and literally have Larry Page call you on your cell phone, whisper three little nothings in your ear, and tell you the secrets to the algorithm as if they existed, and you would still fail 100% of the time in that situation if those people don't go along with you. There's no other job like that that I know of. So it doesn't actually matter how smart you are. It matters how capable your organization is to actually accomplish the smarts you have.
I agree. I've worked in a lot of enterprise scenarios, so much red tape, and a lot of SEOs have failed, and I got stuck in a trap a couple of times, in-house with Raven Tools and TapClick's organization. They basically were spending my entire salary having me create product marketing dev tasks that they never had the budget to fulfill, product marketing dev tasks that uh and complete feature sets, everything ready to go, soup to nuts, all done in Jira, just like they wanted. And the meeting would come and resources go somewhere else. Resources go here, resources go there. So I've been in that trap, and I think that's actually the most challenging part of an enterprise level SEO experience is navigating how to get buy-in from different teams that are siloed, bringing them together and finding that, giving them the the talk through of, hey, you can get more out of your email wins if we partner it by creating these resources on the sites, which by the way, oh, hey, CMO, I can, partner this channel and bring this traffic in. We should tie that in with paid ads. And we should bring in, our social media team and we can tie in the collateral that they're creating. They're getting 15 videos. All of those conversations don't happen when you're like, I am SEO. I use SEMrush. I look at keyword. And Jeremy, can you optimize our site? It'll be launching in 2 weeks, and you'll get to see it 2 weeks after that.
Yeah.
And then we can do SEO on it.
Yeah, well, we'll
Um,
SEO that for you. Absolutely. It's a verb, and we do it after the fact, of course, right? Like that's so I know that feeling. I know exactly what you're talking about. And it unnerves me to no end because here's the thing, right? If we go back in time, what basically happens is search engines come aboard and people start recognizing the opportunity. And they look around their orgs and they look for the person who knows how to code. And they're like, it's HTML, right? So let's get that person to do the SEO. A lot of times, that's where that started, right? Now,
yes.
speaking tech and speaking exec are two different languages, literally
Yeah.
two different languages. And unfortunately, a lot of us who only spoke tech, and I will say I do not speak tech as fluently as I do exec, right? But I got enough bad eyesight and geeky toys behind me to warrant being one of these optimization geeks that we are in wanting to tinker. And like you'll find certain traits among it, like SEOs, right? I found there's like two clusters of them, right?
Yeah.
They're the tinkerers who like love playing with cars, like actual cars and mechanic style SEOs. I've seen them because they like that sort of side of the house. And then you'll see the games like board game, Star Wars, all of that fantasy, yup. SEOs too. And that's not to say you have to fit in these two buckets in order to exist in our industry, but I'm just saying there are some common traits, right? We are not necessarily the best suited to go in front of the executives and convince people that care about and note you. I already talked about supply and demand. Why did I use that language? Because that's the linguistics of business, not the
Yeah.
linguistics of canonical. I often say, you want to see someone roll their eyes? Say canonical in a meeting. It's going to raise more wristwatches than eyebrows. Like you're talking about technical stuff and they don't care about that, right? They
Yeah.
really don't. They don't even care about the channel. That's the funny part. When I got to be a CMO, you would have thought, oh, SEO was my channel. No, it wasn't. I didn't care where the leads came from. I
Yeah.
needed the leads. Someone's breathing down my neck, and I could give a crap which channel's driving it. I just want to
Yeah.
see results, right? So there is a different mindset there. And Jeremy, to your point, the and this is a bigger conversation that needs to be had, especially now in the AI, dare I say, landscape, because that sounds like it's made up by an AI in the vast digital landscape. Whenever you see vast digital landscape, it's like ChatGPT wrote that. Um, I'm a, I'm I look at it and say maybe the marketing departments are built wrong. Like maybe the marketing of the future by channel is the incorrect way of doing it. That channel specificity in the way that we're doing it is actually incorrect. You can have specialties, but perhaps we should not be all KPIing, because the KPIs that people do in the silos that are a marketing department, when you get to a mid-size, let alone enterprise company, are conflicting by nature. And
Yeah.
because of that, you won't necessarily let's use a very simple example. One of the two Achilles heels that exists in an SEO's world is content. If the content writer is being gauged or KPI'd on volume, which is horrendous, but let's just say it was, you have to do
Yeah.
5 blog posts a month. Except I come back and tell you page 6, 7, 8, and 9 need optimizations, at least a paragraph or whatever more to them. Have I actually helped you hit your KPI? No, because this is not going to create net new content, and that's not counted in your KPI. So what I've
Yeah.
done is actually distract you from your KPI, which ultimately gets you the pat on the back or the bonus or the you're doing a great job, or at least you're keeping up with what we're asking of you, right? Those two
Yeah.
things are at odds. It is not the CMO's job. It should be, but the CMO is so focused on getting the vision out there and the numbers going in the right direction that they're not always looking operationally back. And it depends on what kind of CMO it is, by the way. You've got brand heavy, which is like messaging. And then you've got some that are really geeky that like the numbers and like to get into all the depth of stuff. Again, I'm making generalizations, but those people aren't necessarily going to come in and arbitrate the problems or conflicts of these things for you, right? So as an SEO, you're kind of trapped, right? And you really should be a center of excellence. In reality, that's what you are. You're a keeper of data and direction, but you're treated as a
Yeah.
channel. So I've always said the key, if you are dealing in multiple silos, the key is not to add 6, 7, 8, 9 to the to-do list. It's to find out what the to-do list of the person who's already doing the work. What is their number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4 on their list, and can you make it better? I can
Right.
go and I can find out that article you're writing for. Hey, here's 3 things you might want to add to it that's going to make it perform better. And when it does perform better, I'm going to show you that performance so you can take the credit with your boss on it. Okay, now we're working in the
Yeah.
direction as opposed to before we were conflicted.
Yes. Yeah.
That is
Doing
something
the
that can
value
happen
add.
naturally. And unfortunately, here's what sucks, guys. I know there's so many SEOs going out there going like, oh, what a luxury to be able to say that and not do it. It's so much harder in reality. Yeah, it is. That's kind of why our industry isn't where it needs to be right now. It's why the hourly rates and the things that we're hearing about are frankly like ridiculously low. And it's also why people are allowed to say our entire industry is dead just because AI showed up, let alone voice search, let alone Google Plus, let alone all the things that came previously that were supposedly SEO killers, right? Like, give me a break, guys. Like, if you want to play, play, but like, show up and do the stuff you have to. And being an SEO is harder than just telling people what to fix.
I'm curious what's your take on this quote from Chris Tweeten, a Spacebar Collective. He said, "Talented SEOs look forward to Google algorithm updates. Agree or disagree?"
And that's a really interesting quote. I think it depends on the type of SEO you are. I think my co-founder, Trevor, who's the logic in Vibe Logic, right? I'm more of the vibe. I'm less of a technical SEO. I'll be the first one to tell you that. I don't get excited at an algo update because I'm not going to pick it apart. He's going to pick it apart because it's a floating math equation in the sky and he likes doing that. And that gives him dopamine, right? But I would say like, when I look at it, I say, okay, that's one more aspect of how things are or aren't working. I look forward to it when I know we're doing the right stuff. I would not be looking forward to it if I knew a client of mine was writing all AI content right now. Right? I would know that was a very bad day that I would have to say I told you so
Yeah.
rather than, and they chose to go in that direction because I never would have wanted them to do it in the first place, right? And I definitely am not the type, as you can tell, to shy away from shooting straight and tell you what I think. So
Sure.
for me, that might actually turn out great. Yeah, awesome. Look, I was right. Not that I really want that to be the case because I don't want you to drop, but maybe some of the spammer listicles, that are out there just got out of the way, right? And less nonsense is in the SERP and it's getting cleaner. I hope so. But for me, that's not where I focus. I focus on go deeper and wider. Go deeper into the content. Am I really answering it correctly? Have we really done a good job? I usually wear a t-shirt that says, if you're not helping people, you're just selling stuff. And I actually believe that as a mantra for marketing. Like, I actually think you can give away a lot of stuff to someone and you'll earn their business. Like, you'll earn their trust. You'll do that with the engines, you'll do that with the LLMs, and you'll do that with your audience. But you need to earn it first. So in order to do that, you need to not give some top level, I think there's a great example I use. Someone's bullet point is someone else's entire universe. So I was looking at a company who dealt in healthcare, and they were talking about change of life events. And divorce is a change of life event where you're allowed to change your insurance. Awesome. That was a bullet point. Do you know what kind of a copy brief I wrote on divorce? There are so many questions that people have when they get divorced. Can I keep my spouse on my insurance? How long am I allowed to keep my spouse? Do I have to tell the insurance company about it? What if we're just separated? What if I don't want my spouse on my insurance? All of this stuff is actually helpful, right? That's the stuff that matters, not the bullet point that says this is a life event, right? So while this company was going to leave it at that level, done with it, is that really helpful? Should that really
No.
rank? Does that really solve the problem? Or is the knowledge of this company really in depth and should be shown to actually help people? Does that mean every person's going to switch to that healthcare company because they gave them the answer? No. But does it mean that brand will be associated with having made that answer somewhere in someone's head along the way and may find its way back at some point? Yeah, we got to worry about that. Not whether or not like the latest algo just just bump me this way and that way. Like that's not the future in my mind of where this all goes. Because if the SERPs change, if voice search is a thing, if AI were to take over in other ways, right? They still have to interpret. So what are you
Yeah.
giving them to interpret? That's the key, right? That's the crux that they can't do it without the data. So if you go back to the source and you deal in the data and you deal in better data and wisdom that exists in these organizations, and instead of putting a moat, like you put it on the other side of the moat and you expose some of it in the ways that you can, now I think you're doing something awesome. Now I think you have the opportunity to do some real good in the world and ultimately
Yeah.
solve people's problems and earn the trust that these people end up getting in their businesses.
So one of my quotes that I often use in interviews comes from Matt Brooks of SEO Taric. He says, ChatGPT is your most popular but least trained customer support representative. So tying those two concepts together of, hey, as SEOs, we need to think about how we can help our end customer of the business.
Yes.
What is the process then of helping our human by talking to a bot. And in some case, in a long time, we have been talking to the bot already. And now we have a bot human sandwich where human is talking to bot, goes scrapes Google, and then you're on
Oh,
the
the
other
the snake is
side. There's
eating its
this
tail, Jeremy. The snake is 1000% eating its. There's no question about that, right? So here's three things I think that happen. Let me pontificate, not that I haven't already pontificated, but let me pontificate for a moment on this. One, the real idea of authorship shows up. I think Google Plus had it right, and then they had it wrong. They were right in their authorship. That whole concept of an author profile, I think that exists somewhere on the back end in Google, like in Googleplex. Like they know what you've produced. I think Mueller
author
said
rank.
this. John Mueller said, like, if you haven't produced 20 pieces of content about something, you're not an expert on it. Like, he might have
Yes.
said that in passing, and you know how this is. Like, the cuts days where, he would say something and everybody, whoa. But, like, the reality is, right, there's something about that, which is you're going to have to show up as a human. We're going to have to know and put a human's name behind something. The team app does not count. No longer are you allowed to do this anonymous nonsense where you're like, oh, I posted it, therefore it is, and my brand carries its value. Bullshit. Like I want a human to say, I wrote this, or if not, supposedly now we're supposed to cite, I don't know if you noticed that recently in the schema, when it's written by AI, which I thought was quite funny, that new feature, because I'm like, oh, so this is a new disavow thing where you're expecting us to like essentially beat the bushes for you so that you can identify signals and help you
Yeah.
know where AI
Yeah.
is? Please give me a break.
You
Like
remove
that's
you
not how.
remove not provided, and I'll do that.
Yeah. Exactly. That's never happening. Okay, guys, I don't believe it. Anyone who's going to play it, they'll give them some cred for doing it, and then they'll take it away like they always do. So back to what I was saying. I think real idea of authorship is a huge thing, and I think that's coming. I think I think you need to go back and get your profiles, your about us, your those things need to exist. They need to interlink. They need to show entities of who you are. It's knowledge graph. It's important, and it's going to matter more in the future, I think. The other thing I think that we need to really be thinking about in regards to the hold on before I go. Give me the question again in 1 second. It was, sorry, I lost it. Do you recall? It was the,
ChatGPT as the
right. So understanding and the depth at which you understand your consumer is fundamental. I think this concept of a funnel is stupid. Like we shot ourselves in the foot. Marketers did, not just SEOs. It is not a funnel. It's an hourglass, and everything always ends up at the bottom. Unless you're in the business of selling something once to someone, which I question weather tech, by the way. One, how the hell do they have enough money to keep running Super Bowl ads based on like laser measured like mats for cars? And how many times do you buy mats for cars, especially if they last, right? Like I don't understand it. They created a cup, like an actual, I don't know if you saw that. That was their next thing was like a cup holder, I think, or something. I don't know. It was a really piss poor attempt at a secondary product in my mind. But nonetheless, my point simply is you're usually not in the business. And I came from SaaS, right? Which is subscription. So
yes.
you're not in the business of selling something to someone once. Therefore,
No,
the experience they have post quote unquote purchase actually matters. And
it
that's going to
does.
perpetuate its way back into referral, whether or not I tell my friend Jeremy, you should consider this, you should look at that. That's a great product. All that stuff happens post, right?
Yeah.
So if I
Yes.
don't have the support, if I don't have the knowledge of that, somehow, by the way, SEO got stuck at some companies, not all. I know that like Samsung and Apple are great at this. They do focus on the post. They recognize that people are going to look up, what's that blue thing? How come that happens? Why does that? And they know that there's disinformation out there that's going to show up in answer boxes and give the wrong answers. And that's really negative to their brand. So they've made that investment to focus on that sort of stuff. But there's
Yes.
most companies just leave it at, I got you. And then when you start asking questions in addition, which by the way, find their way into the LLMs when people put in prompts that aren't clean little queries the way we've liked to have them in measurable MSV, bullshit, but little measurable MSV, right? They don't come so clean in prompts. So now all of a sudden,
Yes.
all this other content stuff's going to find its way into LLMs, and you're going to have an executive going like, hey, Jeremy, how come these guys are talking about our pricing? Or how come these guys are saying that we have a bad review? Or how come? It's because all we cared about was getting in front of them in order to make them buy something. It wasn't
Yep.
going back to the chat logs and figuring out what are the most asked questions that we get. What are people most concerned about? How have we solved that problem? Right. So an
Yeah.
issue of 1,000 years ago in your business is still coming up as if it's new. That's a problem. Ooh, I might have lost you.
It was
Somewhere I
a
lost
little
your
glitch.
diatribe. I'm back.
Mid diatribe. So
Oh,
we're back, baby.
I was basically
You're
saying
on a roll.
somewhere along the way, right? You need to be going back to your chat log, seeing what people are asking, understanding the most asked questions, the most plaguing problems. Maybe it's a problem we already solved, by the way, and it's a misconception in the industry. Like there used to be a time where Conductor couldn't do global rankings. It was a million years ago. But then I'd have like someone who'd had a sales call with us a year ago still think that, right?
Yeah.
We solved that problem like 6 months before. So their preconceived notion or whatever the moment in which they interacted with your brand was, is where you
Yeah.
left them. If nothing else is going to confirm or deny that to them for the future, then like they're left with whatever they were thought left with. And so you're doing a disservice if all you're doing is being a demand gen engine rather
Yeah.
than a than a brand continuity, like, guardian of the brand. And I know that's a weird thing to say, but like, and I know that doesn't fall cleanly in anyone's ROI, guys. So I'm well aware of what I'm saying here. Yeah.
I get that, but I think it goes back to some new best practices that I've developed, which is actually, I don't know, speaking to your client, do an interview. Oh my goodness. Scheduled an interview with, the precast concrete wall guy and talk to the guy that actually installs it and ask, hey, when you're bringing it to the site, what are the questions that they need answered? Oh, do we have space for this? Oh, we need a cleared pad. Oh, we need these measurements to be measured 3 times because it's concrete. It's not going to change dimension. If it's the wrong measurement the first time, then it's going to be delivered at that measurement. Ain't going to change it. Um,
Hallelujah,
you know,
Jeremy. Preach,
you know,
preach,
t-
preach.
talk
Yeah.
to like I
Yeah.
interviewed. It comes from an extension of finally doing these podcasts, but I realized, you know what, this conversation right here, this is the best goddamn keyword research that you could ask for. Get two experts riffing on a subject. They'll bring up the most cogent pain points. They will address the elephants in the room.
Yes.
That's what you turn your marketing on. If you want to find out what's happening in home improvement, talk to a home improvement guy. Like, get them on the phone. Don't go to Ahrefs. Don't start SEO with your SEM Rush tool. I don't care how good your tools are. They are tools and they should support some sort of process to deliver X, Y, or Z, but you're not an Ahrefs executor. You're an SEO. You're optimizing, use your tools, but it's just, I know there was somewhere where we got lost in the weeds. I think it was just so easy to get, traffic from Google between 2010 and 2020 where that's all you could do. You could survive by just, quote unquote optimizing keywords on blog posts. Like and you could just stay in Ahrefs, you look up your data, come up with the headlines, never speaking. I had done this at agents. I will cop to it. I worked at an agency and I never actually spoke to anybody within that company ever, but produced dozens of articles in collaboration with our content team who also never spoke with the customer.
Right. That's the other
All
piece.
interaction was done through a customer support representative who I also never talked to. He saw my notes, they talked to him, we see his notes, and we did our thing in a silo and separate. And we wonder why we're disconnected from our clients.
Okay. So let's take exactly what you put there and let's put this into actionable practice right now. I'm going to turn this into an actionable practice. First and foremost, guys, LLMs, you're using them wrong. You're seeing them as a channel to rank in. That's because you've been trained to believe that ranks, first of all, there is no rank in an LLM. Okay. We don't even know whether or not relevancy is highest to lowest. They make up results. Like this is not the droids you're looking for. Like you're not in the right place. What you need to be thinking about, in my mind, is how easy it is with the tools we have today to transcribe. So to your point, if I have, you already called it, the installer's a great person, but am I going to do a great job interviewing? No, the first thing I should probably do is go to an LLM and ask, what are the most frequent questions I should ask an installer of concrete into my home? Okay, so now I have a good basis off which to start my questions. Next thing, I might go to a SEMrush or an href to see if there's any additional questions I can find that are frequently asked. Okay, it might not be for the installer, it might be for the salesperson, whatever. Okay, I've got a good set of questions now. Now I go with whatever choose your favorite, whether it's Teams, Google, Google Meet, whatever, right? Switch on whatever your note taker is, Fireflies, whoever you're using, Otter, you name it. And what used to be, oh my God, I got to pay a transcription service and blah, blah. Look how fast that turned into something we now snap our fingers with. Okay. So we don't even realize an entire industry of transcription, by the way, just got like wiped out
Yeah,
by
no kidding.
version of these little features, right? So there's a
Yes.
lot of really cool shit you should be doing. But what do we do with that data? So now we take that data and we think through a few different things, right? What are the pain points of installation? What are the considerations? What are some things you're going to want to do in order to actually get this thing to happen well? Because you know that if someone comes in to install concrete and it's not ready and it's not capable, there's friction, right? And you could
Yes.
actually maybe even measure that friction. So that might be some interesting things when you're trying to figure out the ROI of this. You might want to say, hey, have you guys ever seen how many times you had to go back to a site to redo because it wasn't ready the first time? If that's a metric they've
Right.
calculated somewhere, you need to get your
Yeah.
hands on that. Now, what are we going to do with this data? Well, we're going to look at whether or not we can create a calculator out of it. Some things that are on and off. If they go yes, then that's okay. If they go no, that's a problem. And we're going to maybe do a calculator with certain things that you're supposed to check off, check on. Maybe it's a checklist, it's digital. And guess what? If you don't know how to do a lick of code, throw it to Claude and then QA the hell out of it. Okay. Like now I've got a piece of this is where AI is helping you, right? It's
Yes.
not having to get 5 devs time and effort to come and help you. No, vibe code the shit out of that and go and try and get something that actually helps. Now, is that going to be on the website? Maybe. Is that going to rank? Probably not. Is that going to be a useful asset that you've now created that could actually go and actually sit on the site that someone can send from the customer service team before the installer comes in and says, make sure you follow these steps. Once that happens, we'll get an email that says you've done this, you're good to go. Right. And now
Yep.
it's almost like the unwritten written contract. They went through the process, they did the stuff, they checked the stuff off. So now if they say they did it, but they didn't do it, you kind of can lay the blame where it belongs. But the really cool part there is you don't just leave it there. You put the question bubbles that are going to come along with some of these things, and that leads to the content you just created. Now you can have content on the website. Now you can have answers and questions, right? FAQs and so forth that came directly from your interview, right? That have been edited
Yes.
down to be those pieces that now live somewhere on the site that can be exposed to the engines, that are your way to answer, that prove that you know what you're talking about, and help your customer so they can find it either in their process or when they're searching on the web. The intention wasn't just to build content so it could be found through the model by which you want it to be found, right?
Yep.
That is the flawed logic that existed in SEO, is that we believed the search engine was supposed to be the only source. And if it doesn't come through the search engine, it has no value. But the search engine was just a way for us to understand supply and demand. The better we got at that, I could create something that gets absolutely zero organic visits and still be one of the most valuable pieces of content if it ends up being your number one newsletter piece, or
Yeah.
it's a blog post that is linked to as a modal on your homepage and all of your prospects see it. Like, I was told what to write about because I looked through the data, whether that was in SEMrush, Ahref, or I did my sourcing like Jeremy was telling you. I found the pain points, I understood them, and I built the content. When that happens, that's valuable content, not because of the channel that drives it, but because it's valuable content because it does the job it's supposed to. After that, how it gets to, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't care. I really don't. Be your number one email piece. I, I don't care as long as it helps and you can tie some ROI to that. Like the fact that anyone is just reporting on organic traffic only to a piece of content they've created and don't show the direct to it, don't show the referral to it, don't show the other channels to it is insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. It didn't exist until I told you to build it. Now you built it, but I'm only going to take credit for a fraction of that because it has to fall cleanly within my channel. Otherwise, oh my God, right? That's again, guys, you remember what I said at the beginning of this conversation? We shot ourselves in the foot. We acted stupidly. We haven't set ourselves up for success. Soapbox.
Yes.
I told you
Yes.
there were a lot more rungs on the soapbox.
Um, I think you tied that up magnificently. That's where I was going to go next. Um, So just tell me a little bit more about what you're doing now. You had an adventure with Conductor, and you came back to your own agency. That's curious. Why is that a passion project for you now? And what does that look like on a tactical basis? Like, what do you like? Are you working in a specific niche that you're in love with? Is it just the challenge of speaking to that throughput value? And agency life has its particular challenges. It's different from optimizing um, in-house and different from optimizing as a solopreneur, freelancer, consultant position. So, what is it about that agency life that you're attracted to, right?
Sure, that's a great question. It's got a lot of pieces, so I'll try and break it down. I had the luxury and the privilege at Conductor of building out our professional services team. I started with 2 kids straight out of school who didn't know keyword research. But since the product required keywords and it was crap in, crap out, like you needed to know what keywords to put in. So, that actually turned into a team, believe it or not, of 7 people who full time were doing keyword research. Like we got that down to a science. It was kind of awesome. Like we built separate tools just to help that team that weren't exposed to didn't need to be enterprise grade, but that would help people do that. Right. And as I built out this team, it ended up being 65 global SEOs that were working on managed services and migrations for some of the world's largest companies and all sorts of awesome stuff. So I got to live that on someone else's dime, to be honest, right? Now, one thing that was my passion back then, which was again much of what I've said today, which is the SEO was probably one of the smartest people in the room, but unfortunately was not in the right rooms. And so
Right.
what would happen is they would be at the tail end of decisions that they would come back into the meeting room and try and tell everyone like, hold on. And like, but all the decisions have already been made for months. The train's been rolling and all of a sudden you show up being like, stop the presses. We need to go back. That's not really a great position to be in. So I
Right.
spent a lot of time doing that. And I said to myself, um, I need to first, I found an awesome partner. Like Trevor Stolber is my business partner. We met during COVID. We actually physically didn't meet, but we met on a meetup through Hook Agency. Great guy, Tim Brown, connected us on one of these like meetup, drink up things. And we just like I hate to say we vibed, but we vibed. And it's before I named the company Vibe Logic, which is funny because like I'm the vibe and Trevor's the logic. Trevor's the guy who won't introduce himself in the way he should. Trevor is a Doogie Howser, if you know the reference, graduated high school at 12, 2 point shy of Mensa, has like 17 pending patents to his name, like absolute technical genius when it comes to search, has been doing it for on the side for like 26 years. So before Google was a thing, right? Um, he's awesome at that. Me, I'm all about the vibe, right? So I like thinking through what are the crazy ideas? What are the ways people should be thinking about content? Kind of like we just did now. How do we turn this into something more valuable? How do we shape it and so forth? So, with that in mind, and knowing where AI seems to be coming in, which by the way, I think is, like I said, distracting a lot of executives over to this world right now, I said, let's start building some product, but let's build an agency first to fund it. So, we've been building out our agency, and, we have everything from enterprise clients, $3 billion company over here. That's not what we make. Small little therapy clinic over here. Like we run the gamut, honestly. We're kind of starting to get our ICP down, I think, which is more B2B focused. I think we're probably stronger there. I think we're more in the growth space of like, let's say anywhere between, and this is a pretty broad space, but revenue between 10 million up to probably $100 million is probably where we should sit. Um, and really going and solving their problems, of which SEO is part of it, but it's really a visibility issue. So the way that I'm looking at the problem is what we call web presence intelligence. I used to call it search presence intelligence, but I changed that because search presence intelligence was too search. And this is really web presence intelligence. So what do? We look at actually the supply side. We say, hey, you know what? LLMs are going to show these results to you, and search engines are going to show these results to you. Is your response to treat it as a ranking opportunity, or is your response to recognize the multi-channel opportunity of influence of getting in front of that audience? So we start to think of multi-channel approaches around topics that make sense to go after that audience's visibility. We say, be where decisions are formed, not made, formed, right? You form an opinion on Reddit. You form an opinion reading an article. You form an opinion on a partner site, potentially. Um, these are places where, unfortunately, because we're so siloed in our approach of KPI and marketing, the display person isn't going to recognize that opportunity, nor is the social person going to recognize that opportunity, nor is, and we can keep going, right? In terms of demand gen groups and performance marketing that don't see these opportunities that way because they're looking at it this way. And we look at it horizontally. We look at it the way the consumer moves. What is put in front of the consumer to influence the consumer? If we understand that better, then we as marketers optimize. We use what's at our disposal from a marketing perspective, and we apply that against the audience. We've created some product that allows us to see where those opportunities are. I like to think of it very much like a roulette board, right? A roulette
Yeah.
wheel. We try to help you decide where to place the bets according to the visibility you're trying to achieve. The highest probability of getting in front of this audience is, and then we help you figure out where to put those bets. That is one of the things we do on top of, obviously, SEO. And a lot of the time, by the way, when we walk into an engagement, one of the first things we do before we even tell them, oh yeah, here's a retainer for X, Y, and Z, we used to go in and tell them, well, this is what you need. We do a diagnosis where we let them diagnose themselves. And what's really cool about that diagnosis is we come up with a few quick things that usually are dissonance. So the CMO believes this, whereas the head of product believes that. Oh, well, this is a conversation that's not naturally going to happen in their company. So if I can help facilitate that, right? I'm not doing SEO
Yeah.
at this point. I'm showing them the dissonance. And then in the next meeting, we give them a roadmap. And that roadmap is like, hey, listen, if you want to go without us, go. This is prioritized as to what we would do if we were in your situation based on what we heard from you. So it's a self-diagnosis that we told you, and it's very much like the doctor coming in and saying, like, if you want the home remedy, like, you can go home and do this, or if you want to take on, the ongoing treatment that's going to take this and allow us to do that, and we might find other things over time that you're going to need. Um, that's the other option. So we're very much like not trying to force services on people. We're trying to let companies recognize the needs, because then you're working with them, not against them. Too many companies you go into as a consultant or an agency, um, you're taking someone else's budget, or there's politics involved, or, and so it's adversarial by nature of where it starts,
Yeah.
versus if they come to their own conclusion of why you're needed with their own answers, it opens you up to being able to solve for them rather than just search for them, so to speak.
I love that concept of positioning yourself as a solution after they answer the question of, do I need a solution?
And what is my problem? I think that's really also the big one, right? Like, if I go in and let's say I went in and I told you I'm going to give you this many copy briefs a month. I've done this before. You're going to get this many copy briefs a month. Here's the problem. Everything they do when it comes to creating content has to go through one writer, and that one writer is tied to about 700 other things and does not have the capability to do it. I can keep giving them copy brief after copy brief after copy brief to go execute, but have I actually helped them? By the end of the
Yeah.
contract, I've fulfilled, right? But did the needle move? No, because I gave them the wrong stuff because it didn't map back to their capability. So it's like you can do the right stuff in providing your client the answers, but if you don't know their ability to execute, and that's more than just a, honestly, that's more than just a one conversation, a really good discovery call. Like you have to get in there and understand the pain points of their organization to understand where you can help the most. That's how you make a real partnership. Vendorships are a dime a dozen. Anybody can be a vendor. If you're like snake oil salesman guy who comes in, guarantees ranks, guarantees this, that, and the other. Sorry guys, you're not my SEO and you're not my guy, like, or girl. That's not for me. I'm in the business of creating partnerships where people are gonna refer me, want more people like us, want to know other people. If we can't take on their business, we can turn them to people who can. We want to be trusted advisors, right? Like the
Yeah.
problem I have in a company is I have to hold myself back because I want to help you with everything. Like I want to get in there and fractional CMO, and you should be, by the way, if you're hiring for one of these positions, that's what you should be looking for. If you're a good SEO, you want to do all of that. Like
Yeah.
you are so passionate about what you do and the business you're helping that like you just want to, like you can't help yourself. It's what I call shower thoughts, right? Like you're thinking about them in the shower
Should do this.
in
Yeah.
the most appropriate way, of course, guys. Like, but like you're thinking about them, right? These are the things they don't, it's not plaguing you. It's passioning you. It's like getting into your head because you can't help it because there's a problem to be solved. And by the way, that trait, when I hire, that's what I look for. I can't, anyone can teach you aspects of search. I can't teach you passion. If you have a passion, a true desire to help, Jeremy, the fact that you thought about going and doing that with your client and asking those questions, even though it wasn't the modus operandi you had done up until now, is a testament to exactly that passion. Passion doesn't show up the same way. Notice, Jeremy's not going to emote the same way I emote, but recognizing when and how that passion comes out in the people you're around is really important to do. Because if you had just poo-pooed what he did, you'd be squashing his passion. So, like, the reality is you took active steps to get out there and figure out what the client really needed. You didn't do that because you got paid more for it. You did it because it was part of what you felt should be done. And that's usually driven by passion. So that is the number one. If someone says, what's the number one trait? That's what it is. Because algorithms are going to change. LLMs are going to come in, blow up your shit. Executives are going to go off on wild goose chases,
New
right?
shinies. Yeah.
New shinies. Devs are not going to go along for the ride and ask you to validate your shit 10 ways to Sunday. And content writers are going to say you're cheapening their brand. But the reality is that passion carries you through. And that's why I'm still here. 20 years later, still messing around in search, right? An industry that's dead and dying and whatever. And yet I'm doubling down here, building an agency in it when everyone's like, oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? No, it's not an SEO agency. It's a visibility agency. And it's all about search, about LLMs and AI, and any surface in which people are looking for solutions. I want to help companies with. That's it.
Love it. Tell people where you're visible, where they can have more of this conversation with Stephan.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, by all means, hit me up on LinkedIn. It is my like drug of choice. Though it's been souring a little bit, that algo's acting a little bit strange these days. It's hard to get a like, but yeah, definitely check me out. Stephan Bajaio, StephanBajaio. That's on LinkedIn. Vibe Logic, VIBE LOG IC.com. I didn't say I was good at spelling. And hit the .com. You can always hit us up there. Check us out on LinkedIn. That tends to be where we're at. I love just honestly spitballing. So I can't say I have tons of time to do it, but if you have a problem and no one else can help, maybe you can call. No, sorry, that reference is only good for certain people that are old enough to know it, but I'm always happy to help. It's kind of my thing. I get real dopamine off of doing it when I can. So if you're running up against a business problem or a search problem or even a communications problem where you just don't know how to get that across to the exec who doesn't get it. I've been the cool uncle. I know how to do that. So, let me know. I'm more than happy to help.
Who you going to call? It's Stefan.
I don't know about that. I'm no Ghostbuster, but I'll do the best I can. So know that this industry is worth more than we're giving it credit for, and I'm still proud to be a part of it. And I'm happy to keep pushing, and I hope we all do, because there's a lot more good stuff on the other side of fear. We just need to get over it.
Amen. Thanks, Stefan.